Hello guys, welcome back to our anime explainer. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Swallowed Star 2 origin continent based on novel. So let's start. My complete intelligence report is being sold for 5,000 cosmic sand at the Flame Wind Pavilion. Luo Feng was very surprised. Mo Li Meng said, through causality determination by the Flame Wind Pavilion, it was confirmed that tonight, a supremely powerful eternal true god, Yin Kang, died within your cave mansion, Lord Luo He. The assassin tonight was called Yin Kang. Luo Feng muttered to himself in a low voice, he genuinely didn't recognize the name. After all, since he had entered the cycle and came to the land of origin, the only large city he had lived in was Huyang City. Luo Feng only purchased some basic intelligence about the vast endless world outside of Huyang City, so naturally, he didn't recognize Yin Kang. This is the intelligence on Yin Kang. Mo Li Meng sent a detailed intelligence report through the transmission token. Upon reading it, Luo Feng understood that Yin Kang was on par in strength with Mo Li Xiao and Shui Yun, but most importantly, his survival skills were extremely strong. He had managed to survive despite being hunted by an elite squad dispatched by the Primal Chaos Overlord. To think that killing an assassin would cause the price of my intelligence to skyrocket, Luo Feng shook his head and sighed. If I'd known he was Yin Kang, I'd have taken the bounty on him from the Flame Wind Association's Dark Hall. What a pity to miss out on a fortune. Luo Feng generally only looked at the bounties within Huyang City. Bounties from other cities. There were countless. At the same time as Yin Kang's death, the Flame Wind Pavilion also revoked the bounty mission for Yin Kang, with the original reward being deducted by 10%, and the rest returned. It's merely some bounty, insignificant for Lord Luo He, said Commander Mo Li Xiao. The Lord of Huyang City also said, as a frontier metropolis, Huyang City is the front line of conflict with the Shi Kingdom's forces. Commander Mo Li Xiao and I are also under great pressure, and we need to focus on dealing with the forces of the Shi Kingdom. If Lord Luo He is willing to help, he could easily earn a large sum of bounty. The three of you may leave now, Luo Feng said, not wishing to speak with them any longer. We won't disturb you any further. The Lord of Huyang City, Mo Li Xiao, and Mo Li Meng all stood up. Soon, the three of them took their leave. As the gate of the cave mansion closed, Mo Yu Qingyang watched with a trembling heart. The Lord of Huyang City and the commander came together, and the master didn't even go out to greet them. When they left, the master didn't see them off either, and not even the Lord of Huyang City seemed upset over this. In their interactions, the master was clearly more dominant. Mo Yu Qingyang also grew excited internally. What great fortune have I, Mo Yu Qingyang, stumbled upon that I may have the chance to take the master as my mentor. I must work hard and first comprehend the 10 fundamental laws. The unfathomable strength of the master made Mo Yu Qingyang all the more determined. The 5 great families and the forces of Shi Kingdom, as long as they don't act foolishly, won't provoke me, Luo Feng thought. I can take this opportunity to focus on my cultivation for a while. Luo Feng took a few steps and entered the underground hall. Inside the underground hall, he released the Star Tower. Currently, Morosa was in one of the tower's levels, digesting food, while Luo Feng went to another level. With a wave of his hand, the many spoils of war appeared in front of Luo Feng. This harvest is not considered significant, Luo Feng glanced at it. Qian Yu Chong, no matter that he was a leader of Huyang Guard, the treasures he left behind were worth only about 200,000 cosmic sand in total. Mei Wu Qi left behind treasures worth about 300,000 cosmic sand upon his death. Neither of them was particularly wealthy, Luo Feng shook his head. This was to be expected, as these members of the great families, these ordinary eternal true gods, despite their noble status, had big expenses. And how much could they save from the cosmic sand allocated to them by their families? In terms of individual wealth, they were not as rich as the Blood Python Association leader. Yin Kang was the wealthy one. Luo Feng looked at the other large quantity of spoils of war. The most valuable items Yin Kang had on him were 2 solo-type mechanical stream secret treasures. The other possessions he carried with him were average in value. All of his left treasures were worth about 3.5 million cosmic sand. Compared to his status, it's still a little less, he probably invested his accumulated wealth into his own cultivation, Luo Feng understood. Bloodline cultivation consumed a vast amount of resources. An enormous amount of resources are poured in hoping for the bloodline to evolve to become more powerful, and it is an abyss with no end. Many powerful beings invest tremendous resources, and yet cannot become a primal chaos overlord. The two mechanical flow secret treasures, one is the sword of the world's core, possessing only one move, condensing primal chaos divine power, valued at about 1.5 million cosmic sand. The other is the Myriad Realms Escape Command. It was with this that Yinkang could move instantaneously within Huyang City, and even under the suppression of my control primal chaos, this treasure still allowed him to outpace me. Wielding the Shawu wings and using control primal chaos, Luo Feng's power was terrifying. The Blood Python Association leader was so suppressed, he couldn't even put up a fight. Yinkang resisted such suppression and still managed to outpace Luo Feng. This was not something that could be achieved solely by one's realm, but rather with a powerful escape-class mechanical flow treasure. Mechanical stream secret treasures are quite helpful to me now. But in the future, the help will become less and less significant. Luo Feng understood this point. A perfect divine body refined for the second time, even if it is lower in realm and simple in techniques, can already rival the power of mechanical stream secret treasures. Purple Jade Gem was also effortlessly pierced through with a single strike in front of Luo Feng. As my realm advances, the power wielded by my perfect divine body will become stronger. If I refine it a third time, there will be a substantial improvement. Mechanical flow secret treasures will become even less significant to me, Luo Feng reasoned. The perfect divine body and willpower are his true reliance. Luo Feng closed his eyes and began to focus on sensing the primal chaos laws from the primal chaos ruins nearby, tangible as if real, immersing himself in cultivation. Within Huyang City, the various powers all assumed that the five great families would not let things rest, and were keen to see the upcoming conflict between the five great families and Lord Luo He. But the result was, the five great families backed down. At first, everyone believed that the five great families were secretly hiring experts, which might take some time to arrive at Huyang City. But as time passed, everyone began to understand the situation clearly. As for the news of Yinkang being killed by Lord Luo He, after all, its intelligence worth 5,000 cosmic sand. Very few forces who had purchased the information would be willing to let it leak out. Why should other families easily obtain the intelligence that one's own family had paid a great price to acquire? As time elapsed, those within Huyang City who knew of the news that Lord Luo He killed Yinkang remained only the few top forces within the city, and these forces naturally grew increasingly wary of Luo Feng. Cultivation time, like running water, passed by unnoticed for more than 2 decades. Huyang City, within a dark and gloomy hall. The figure in a white robe wearing a red mask stood there, looking at the speck of blood-red flame in midair, the flame emitting an aura of disaster and darkness. Marquis, the white-robed figure greeted respectfully. Shuiyun, you've been in Huyang City for quite some time now, the voice came from the blood-red flame, yet to this day, you've not accomplished the task I gave you. Divine Monarch Shuiyun replied with utmost respect, Marquis, I dare not slack off, and I've tried every possible method to track down the complete formation diagram of Huyang City. But the Huyang City formation has been so extensively modified and supplemented over generations that it has become incredibly complex. The array masters who personally repaired it only know a small area of the formation they were responsible for. It's impossible to understand the entire grand formation. Search the novel fire.net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. I only want results, the blood-red flame replied coldly. I will give you one last era to obtain the complete formation map of Huyang City. I will send 2 experts to assist you. If you are still unable to do so within an era, you may as well come back. I will make other arrangements for the matter of Huyang City. Divine Monarch Shuiyun was taken aback. If he could not succeed within an era, would the affairs of Huyang City no longer be his responsibility? As the leader of the Sha Kingdom's forces within Huyang City, although it was quite dangerous, the Shi kingdom would continuously provide him with resources. Many of these resources ended up in Divine Monarch Shuiyun's own hands. Divine Monarch Shuiyun, with a desire to become a primal chaos overlord, naturally needed a vast amount of resources. If he were to be recalled, coupled with the failure of the mission, the resources he would receive in the future would be greatly reduced. Marquis, within an era, I will spare no effort to seize the complete formation diagram of Huyang City, Divine Monarch Shuiyun said respectfully. I've arranged your assistance, and you haven't been shorted of resources. I hope that this time, you won't disappoint me again. The blood-red flame's voice was ice-cold, and it gradually extinguished. Only then did the exceedingly respectful Divine Monarch Shuiyun relax. Even as powerful as he was, he dared not show the slightest disrespect before the Marquis, an ancient primal chaos overlord who has journeyed through the long years. After all, even the most powerful eternal true gods would be effortlessly crushed by the Marquis. The Marquis is losing patience, Divine Monarch Shuiyun pondered, he's so urgent, it seems the Marquis must have some significant action planned. I wonder how strong the 2 assistants sent by the Marquis will be. Divine Monarch Shuiyun was patient, planning to wait for the arrival of the 2 formidable assistants before deciding on the plan to capture the formation diagram of Huyang City, within an era. Even if I cannot get the complete formation diagram of Huyang City, I must earn sufficient merit points. Otherwise, the Marquis will not spare me. Having taken a large amount of resources, naturally, corresponding merits were expected. Snowflakes were swirling down, the world blanketed in white. The snow of Huyang City was extremely cold, each snowflake like a glittering gem. Luo Feng sat on the peak of his cave mansion, stretching out his hand to catch the falling snowflakes, each snowflake's structure extremely intricate, like a formation diagram. Comprehending the laws is also getting slower, Luo Feng thought. I've been in the land of origin for 27 eras already. I made rapid progress in the early stage, but now my advancement is slowing down. This was normal, as his realm could be considered at the pinnacle level of an eternal true god. To thoroughly integrate a multitude of scattered insights, and to comprehend the complete primal chaos laws, was certainly not an easy task. Luo Feng looked down the mountain, seeing his servant Moyu Qingyang, also deep in contemplation. Is comprehending the laws so difficult for you? You still haven't grasped the 10 fundamental laws, Morosa said while gnawing on meat, shaking his head. Moyu Qingyang couldn't help saying, Lord Luo Sa, it took me just over 2 decades to grasp 8 of the basic laws, which is already quite fast. My father even says that my comprehension speed is very quick. Too slow. With my teaching, not having comprehended the 10 fundamental laws by now means you're dull, Morosa said disdainfully. Comprehending the laws is a very simple matter. You need to understand that these laws don't exist in isolation, they are interconnected. It's due to the combination of different laws that all things operate, Morosa explained. I've said it before. You need to consider their interconnections to think about their essence. I don't understand, Moyu Qingyang shook his head. Alas, both the eldest and third of the Moyu family have become true gods of void space, only leaving you as the lone true god. Put some effort into it, your weakness is embarrassing, even to me. Morosa shook his head, both your master and I progressed much faster when we were cultivating. Moyu Qingyang kept quiet, as he still wanted Morosa's guidance and dared not talk back, and he had to think of ways to appease him. Whoosh! Luo Feng landed beside them. Master, Morosa and Moyu Qingyang immediately stood up. Come with me on a trip, Luo Feng instructed. The Fire Realm restaurant was bustling under the flurry of snow, with many guests present. Inside the kitchen pavilion, Suozi was focused on cooking. Over 2 decades had passed, and he had already become one of the main chefs at the Fire Realm restaurant. After all, the owner, Black Butcher, rarely cooked, leaving the main chefs and many disciples to handle the cooking. Okay, serve it all now, Suozi finished preparing a Fire Realm feast. Yes, an attendant who was waiting nearby immediately delivered the renowned Fire Realm feast to the guests. Suozi then relaxed. As a main chef, he needed to prepare some important dishes himself, while ordinary dishes could be delegated to his junior brothers and sisters. Having become a head chef, I've earned quite a few more primal chaos crystals. After a few more decades, I'll be able to purchase enough resources to try for a breakthrough, he thought every time he counted his increasing savings, filled with anticipation for the future. Brother Suo-zi, your brother has come. He's calling you over, a voice came from outside the kitchen pavilion. Okay. Suo-zi walked outside, where being a head chef meant he wasn't too busy. Familiarly, Suo-zi walked into a hall, where dozens of guests were seated apart from each other, with Suo-yun sitting in the primary seat. Suo-zi, Suo-yun called out. Sa the novelia, .ne asterisk t website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Suo-zi walked over. Today I'm hosting a feast for many brothers in the tower. Suo-yun laughed heartily. You must cook personally. Your skills are much loved by our Thousand Mountain Tower brothers. The skills of the Tower Master's brother, we are all well aware, someone commented. It's tough on brother Suo-zi, the numerous guests around laughed. Almost all those invited by Suo-yun were from the void true gods of Thousand Mountain Tower. Suo-zi smiled amicably, familiar with handling guests over the long years. I'll make sure everyone is satisfied. I'll go cook now. Go ahead with your work, and come join us for a drink afterward, Suo-yun instructed. Okay. Suo-zi then left the hall. Tower Master Suo-yun, why don't you bring your brother to join us at Thousand Mountain Tower? Lord Chiu, you don't know, my brother wants to stay with his master and learn the art of cooking. He really doesn't want to come to Thousand Mountain Tower. Suo-yun was one of the 39 Tower Masters of Thousand Mountain Tower, which clearly spoke of his high status, as he chatted and dined with the members. Suo-zi returned to the kitchen pavilion, and received a detailed menu via a transmission token. Some simple dishes were delegated to his junior brothers and sisters, but many main dishes required his personal attention. Arriving in Huyang City over 2 decades ago, Suo-yun has completely changed. Suo-zi had grown up with Suo-yun in the tribe, and he could sense the changes in Suo-yun within Huyang City. Now, I find it hard to tell whether his words are true or false. He frequents the Fire Realm restaurant not because of me but to chance upon Lord Luo-he. Suo-zi knew this very well. He was recruited by the dark forces of Thousand Mountain Tower and promoted to Tower Master because of Lord Luo-he. Over the past 2 decades, Suo-zi had seen numerous guests come and go, sensing the intangible influence of Lord Luo-he. Because of Lord Luo-he, many eternal true gods were willing to come to the Fire Realm restaurant. Because of Lord Luo-he, the Fire Realm restaurant had expanded its premises several times over, greatly improving business. Because of Lord Luo-he, Suo-zi himself had received vigorous cultivation from the owner. Lord Luo-he has arrived. Suddenly, the attendants at the Fire Realm restaurant all perked up, passing the message around. Lord Luo-he has arrived. Suo-zi also looked outside the pavilion, instantly spotting the figures of Luo Feng, Morosa, and Moyu Qingyang approaching in the distance, with the owner Black Butcher already moving forward to greet them. Supreme, the Black Butcher was extremely enthusiastic and respectful. He too had struggled to get to the land of origin by passing through cycles of reincarnation, and his days had improved significantly only because Luo Feng enjoyed visiting the Fire Realm restaurant. It was during these past 2 decades that he was able to quickly accumulate resources. He did not mind being humble, what he feared was the absence of hope. Previously, while operating the restaurant for many long years and being oppressed by dark forces, he hardly made much profit, sometimes even operating at a loss. These past 2 decades of good days had amassed more wealth than he had accumulated in all the preceding years combined, naturally enabling him to buy resources to aid his cultivation. Black Butcher, your Fire Realm feast is getting better and better. If I don't come for a while, I start craving it, Luo Feng said with a smile. It's my honor that the Supreme enjoys it. I will get to the kitchen now and strive to do even better. The Black Butcher grinned broadly, his smile genuine. Supreme Shong and the others are at the old place. Luo Feng nodded and flew towards the familiar hidden pavilion. During the flight, when some of the Fire Realm restaurant attendants and many guests saw Luo Feng, they showed great respect, including the overly respectful Suo-yun. This is Suo-yun, joining the dark forces. His and Suo Zi's paths are completely different, Luo Feng noted all the faces effortlessly. For Suo Zi and Suo Yun, Luo Feng was still quite concerned. After all, they were among the first creatures he saved upon his arrival in the land of origin, and had also arrived in Huyang City at the same time as him. Luo Feng was quite interested in their future development. However, joining the dark forces was something Luo Feng did not quite appreciate. Sigh. Luo Feng approached the secluded small building. Brother Luo He, Shong Qianyang and another eternal true god, Sang Shui Yun, were already at the door to meet him. Moyu Qingyang was standing guard outside the little building. Meanwhile, Morosa relaxed and walked to a small building nearby, instructing the Black Butcher, "Arrange some food and drink, you know my taste." "Don't worry, I understand," responded the Black Butcher, who immediately set things up. After spending so much time together, he could sense that the servant Luo Sa had an unusual relationship with Lord Luo He. Right after, the Black Butcher, filled with fighting spirit, began to adjust his mindset, dedicating himself fully to preparing a Fire Realm feast. After all, Lord Luo He was his most important guest, and he had to be well attended to. From a distance, Suo Yun watched Luo Feng enter the building and narrowed his eyes in thought. "Lord Suo Yun, is that Lord Luo He?" Lord Chiu looked from afar, his eyes filled with envy and reverence. As a core member of the Dark Forces Thousand Mountain Tower, Lord Chiu was well aware. Lord Luo He was a top-tier figure in Huyang City. Even the 5 great families had to restrain themselves in front of him. "Yes, it was Lord Luo He who saved my life. If it weren't for the divinity, my brother and I would have died long ago," Suo Yun exclaimed. Inside the secluded building, Luo Feng, Shong Qianyang, and Sang Shuiyun sat down. Shong Qianyang chuckled, "Brother Luo He, when you called for me, I just happened to be at this Fire Realm restaurant with Sang Shuiyun. You two really have a close relationship, always coming and going together," Luo Feng teased. In the entire Huyang City, there were only 2 eternal true gods infatuated with the Dream Flower Tower Master, precisely Shong Qianyang and Sang Shuiyun. Though they were considered rivals in love, they actually got along quite well. Initially, Brother Shong and I were both loners in Huyang City, free from any attachments. That's when we got acquainted. Sang Shuiyun shook his head. "And now, I am still carefree without any ties, but look at him, establishing the Heavenly Flame sect, tirelessly mentoring a whole bunch of disciples, acquiring a bunch of burdens, making him strain himself as well." Sang Shuiyun had wings and always carried an air of decadence, as well as a somewhat reclusive nature. "I have spent countless heart force on artifact refining. I have to pass it on," Shong Qianyang remarked. "Why do you absolutely have to pass on your skills? In the whole land of origin, there are many artifact refining masters stronger than you. The loss of your artifact refining skills would just be a trivial matter," Sang Shuiyun said. "Don't overestimate yourself, we are just insignificant little waves in the land of origin. Even a little wave has its moment to ripple. With your decadence, you can't even count as a wave, just dust," Shong Qianyang replied. "I am dust, and you are a wave," Sang Shuiyun shook his head. "Actually, even if you want to pass on your skills, taking a few disciples would have been enough. Establishing a sect and having all those sect concerns mean you can never truly be free. Luckily, you met Lord Luo He, and for the past 2 decades or so, you've been relatively at liberty." "Ha ha, I should thank Brother Luo He," Shong Qianyang looked at Luo Feng. "In the past, there were many things I couldn't extricate myself from, having to consider the whole sect. Now, the various powers hardly dare to go too far." Luo Feng said, "Brother Shong, if you didn't care about the sect, didn't care about the disciples, you could be as carefree as Sang Shuiyun." Sang Shuiyun nodded, "He's just foolish. If you can't speak nicely, then keep quiet. I need to discuss important matters with Brother Luo He now." "You might as well leave," Shong Qianyang urged. "I'm off," Sang Shuiyun said simply, standing up and leisurely leaving. Luo Feng watched Sang Shuiyun go. He could feel Sang Shuiyun's reclusiveness. In this world, it seemed like there was nothing Sang Shuiyun truly cared about, as if he were merely a passerby in the world. Sang Shuiyan's temperament, and you actually became friends with him, Luo Feng remarked. He and I are quite similar, Zhong Qianyang said. Quite similar? Luo Feng was surprised. To him, Zhong Qianyang and Sang Shuiyan seemed to have completely different temperaments. One loved making friends, and took great care in teaching disciples, managing the sect. Yet the other was extremely reclusive, caring about no one. In Huyang City, I understand him the best, and he understands me the best, Zhong Qianyang smiled. Perhaps that's why both of us are enamored with the Dream Flower Tao Master. I don't understand you too, Luo Feng shook his head. More than 2 decades had also made Luo Feng's relationship with Zhong Qianyang very good, and they were congenial in temperament. Luo Feng had compassion for the weak, and Zhong Qianyang was also naturally compassionate towards the weaker ones, otherwise, why would he painstakingly teach his disciples? They chatted over food and drinks, relaxed and at ease. Suddenly, buzz. A small cosmic domain appeared in the Fire Realm restaurant. Luo Feng and Zhong Qianyang turned their heads to look, their gaze piercing through the walls, seeing the restaurant owner Black Butcher, who had just finished preparing the Fire Realm feast. He had a sudden epiphany while fully committing to the feast and broke through the final barrier. The source of law he mastered naturally formed a domain. I didn't expect this Fire Realm restaurant's owner to have broken through, becoming an eternal true god, Zhong Qianyang marveled. Preparing a Fire Realm feast for us, and he actually broke through to become an eternal true god. This feast must be delicious, Luo Feng was somewhat greedy. This video will end here.